Australians spend over $14 billion on beef every year, but raw meat is a high-risk product, and one lapse in temperature or handling can turn a routine shop into a serious mistake. A month ago, we exposed pricing traps. Today, we're exposing meat buying setups you should never put on autopilot, and safer ways to shop. Number 6. Costco, the bulk trap. You walk in and it feels like value, giant trays, low per kilo price, the fantasy that one shop covers the whole week. Bulk meat is more error prone because it's handled more and depends heavily on how quickly you get it home and cold. The tray gets lifted, compared, set down, picked up again, and every extra minute it sits warmer than it should is a minute you never get back. Then, you take it home and the real test starts. You still have to portion it, bag it, label it, and get it cold fast, and most people don't do that immediately. Food safety guidance treats temperature as the main risk lever. The danger zone starts above 5 degrees Celsius, and time out of proper temperature control is tracked in hours, not days. High-volume stores are optimized for speed, which means temperature control relies just as much on shopper behavior as store systems. When the system is fast and cold, it works. When the system slows down even a little, the penalty shows up as quality drift first, watery purge, odd smells on opening, and meat that cooks inconsistently because it has been time and temperature stressed. If you buy bulk, make it a planned operation. Shop last, go straight home, portion the same day, and freeze what you will not use quickly. Bulk can be fine, but it isn't an autopilot product. It's a product you manage. Number 5. Aldi, batch variation risk. This model wins on price and simplicity, fewer lines, tighter suppliers, fast shopping, and for many categories it works beautifully. With meat, the watch-out can be batch-to-batch variation. One pack behaves normally, the next one can feel soft, wet, and strangely spongy under heat. Not because anything is mystical, but because small differences in handling and timing show up more dramatically in fragile products. Modern retail uses packaging and presentation to keep meat looking attractive, and high oxygen modified atmosphere packs can run roughly 70 to 80% oxygen to preserve that bright red color people associate with freshness. That isn't a safety claim, it's a display strategy. Color becomes less useful as a signal, so you need other checks: the use by date, the smell on opening, and how the surface feels. When cold chain discipline is perfect, none of this is a big deal. When it slips, even slightly, you feel it in performance: more liquid in the pack, less browning, more steaming, and a texture that does not reward you for paying attention. Don't treat raw meat like it can sit around. Keep the trip short and chill it fast. Keep your shop short, carry it chilled, and choose formats that are harder to make pretty, like whole cuts over heavily presented packs. If your experience is consistently good, great. If it's a gamble, treat that as a signal and move your meat budget elsewhere. Number 4. IGA, the turnover gamble. This one's confusing because it doesn't feel like one chain. You might have a local store you love, or you might have one that feels tired and slow. That independence is the whole mechanism. Meat outcomes can swing based on turnover, staffing, and cabinet discipline, and you don't see those decisions at the register. You see them later, when you open the pack and the smell hits first, or when the surface feels wetter than it should, or when the cooking behavior is strangely inconsistent. Use by dates and storage guidance are built around assumptions: continuous refrigeration, predictable turnover, and proper handling from delivery to display. A small store that sells meat fast can be fantastic. A slow turnover store can be a higher risk situation for freshness. If the case is overworked, if product sits longer, or if staff are rushed, quality fades quietly and the pack can still look normal until you ask it to perform. Treat this category with caution. Look for a cabinet that feels properly cold, look for visible restocking, and buy what you will use soon, rather than trying to stretch it. If you're shopping for kids, pregnancy, or elderly family members, lower the risk, pick whole cuts, cook thoroughly, and avoid anything that depends on the store being perfect when you cannot verify the back end. Number 3. Coles, Mince and Marinade risk. The higher risk formats here aren't everything. They're specific categories like mince and heavily marinated lines. Mince is a high risk buy. Grinding spreads any surface contamination through the whole pack, which is why it's a common pathway for pathogens like Salmonella and STECE coli. And STEC is not just a rough stomach. It can progress into hemolytic uremic syndrome, where kidneys take the hit. Many Australian guides push minced meats to around 75 degrees Celsius in the thickest part, while some authorities use 71 degrees Celsius as a minimum benchmark. If you want fewer regrets, pick the higher number and use a thermometer. The source issue is different. Marinades don't magically create pathogens, but they can hide the early warning signs plain meat would give you. Acid, salt, smoke flavor, chili, garlic, and sweetness can blur what you would normally detect as an off smell, mushy texture, or a suspicious wet surface. Convenience becomes a perception filter. If you buy mince, treat it like a short window product and cook it properly every time. No half-browned centers. For ready-to-cook lines, choose packs that still let you inspect the meat and don't let seasoning talk you out of your own senses. Convenience is allowed. Blind trust is optional. Number 2. Woolworths, the packaging illusion. This is where packaging can make meat look fresher than it actually is, something common across major chains. Modified atmosphere packaging swaps normal air for a designed gas mix, typically built around oxygen, carbon dioxide, and sometimes nitrogen. That mix can keep the product looking photogenic even as time moves forward, which means your eyes get less honest information. MAP is a well-established commercial method used to extend display life and manage appearance, and it is used across large supply chains because it standardizes what shoppers see. That standardization is the trade. A pack can survive the system visually while eating quality quietly drops. More purge, a stressed texture, a cook that feels like it is shedding water instead of browning properly. None of that automatically means unsafe, but it is a real signal that the time temperature history was not ideal or that the format is optimized for shelf. Look over your pan. Stop shopping by color alone. Pick cuts that give you fewer surprises. Minimize the time your cart becomes a warm hallway. And if a pack consistently disappoints in performance, treat that as feedback, not a personal failure. Big systems manage risk. Your job is to choose habits that reduce it, buy last, chill fast, and cook with intent instead of hope. Number 1. The deli counter, the hidden Listeria risk. This is where risk increases, especially for vulnerable groups. Deli meats feel safer than raw meat, but they're handled, sliced, and stored as ready-to-eat products. And ready-to-eat foods are where Listeria risk matters most. NSW Health Notes. Listeriosis incubation can be 3 to 70 days, which is why people often do not connect symptoms to what they ate weeks earlier. Listeria can survive and grow at refrigeration temperatures, so being refrigerated isn't a shield the way people think it is. And when contamination events happen, recalls are a control measure, not proof of wrongdoing, but they are a real-world reminder that a small issue can scale across multiple retailers, fast and ready-to-eat categories. For pregnancy, older adults, or anyone immunocompromised, deli isn't convenience, it's a risk category. Buy small amounts, keep it cold, and reheat when appropriate. Now, before we talk about where to shop instead, here's the reality check. Most supermarket meat meets national standards. This isn't a panic video. In big supply chains, safety is managed, not guaranteed, and the managed part is where habits matter most. So the real question is not if supermarket meat is always unsafe. The real question is which shopping choices remove the most risk while still fitting real budgets and real routines. And to be clear, this isn't a ranking of good and bad supermarkets. It's about meat department setups that can reduce handling and temperature risk when run properly. Now let's flip it. Not perfect stores, not guarantees, but meat setups that make temperature control easier instead of harder. Departments that reduce handling instead of multiplying it. Here's what that looks like. First, Harris Farm markets. Some Harris Farm locations invest heavily in closed refrigeration and active meat departments, which can reduce temperature swings when the department is well run. Closed, genuinely cold cabinets are a structural advantage over open decks that feel lukewarm because they hold temperature more consistently and the product spends less time fighting the room. Food safety guidance is consistent on one thing: chilling and minimizing time out of proper refrigeration is the simplest way to lower risk. And the stores that make that easy are the stores that help you win. When a business builds the department like a department, not an aisle, it usually means more rotation discipline and more staff contact with product. It isn't for magic, but because meat is treated as managed inventory. You can also buy cleaner cuts and avoid the most fragile formats. Vacuum-sealed packs, when available, are often less dependent on display theatre, and whole cuts let you judge surface and trim more honestly than pre-seasoned lines. Choose your meat last, touch as few packs as possible, and commit to one fast exit, checkout, car, home. If a store routinely delivers meat that browns cleanly and smells normal on opening, that is not luck. It is a system doing its job. Next, Ritchie's IGA. The advantage here is not the logo, it is the presence of a real, staffed meat department in stores that run true on-site butchers. A staffed counter usually means more eyes on product, more trimming and rewrapping when needed, and less chance that old stock gets buried under fresh deliveries because someone is responsible for it in real time. Retail food hygiene standards are built around basic control points, clean tools, separated surfaces, and staff routines that prevent cross-contamination. And a visible counter gives you a chance to observe whether those routines look real. This doesn't guarantee perfection, but it raises your odds because meat is not treated as set and forget. You can also ask for specific cuts, choose portions that fit your week, and avoid the trap of buying more than your fridge can safely support. The big win is control. You're not stuck with whatever tray has the best lighting. When you shop, look for simple green flags, tidy benches, staff who change gloves correctly, tools that are not drifting between raw and ready-to-eat areas, and a case that looks actively worked. Then, do your part. Buy what you can use soon, freeze the rest promptly, and let the counter do the heavy lifting instead of turning your kitchen into a portioning factory. Then, Drake's. The best meat handling isn't marketing. It's a process you can feel and read even without a clipboard. Evidence. You can often tell when a store treats meat as a managed department because you see labour, staff working the case, restocking, rotating and maintaining a clean rhythm instead of leaving product to sit and hope. Use by dates and quality expectations assume continuous cold storage, and the stores that build discipline around that assumption tend to produce fewer surprises at home. Hiring trade qualified butchers and meat assistants does not make a store perfect, but it is a signal that someone is accountable for trimming, rotation, and basic standards. That accountability matters because a lot of the risk in grocery meat isn't where it came from. It's what happened to it between delivery and your pan. Your move is to choose formats that reveal the truth. Whole cuts and clearly portioned packs give you better feedback than heavily handled products that hide behind sauce. Shop late in your trip, go straight home, and avoid turning meat into a passenger while you run errands. If you open a pack and it smells normal and cooks the way meat should, that is what a tight system looks like in real life. Also worth mentioning, Foodland. In some independent stores, especially where the meat counter is actively staffed, handling can be more visible and controlled, but this varies by location. You're not shopping for a logo, you're shopping for discipline you can actually observe. Cabinets should be genuinely cold and preferably closed, not an open deck that breathes warm aisle air onto raw product. Stock should look rotated, not piled, with packs faced neatly, and older products not disappearing underneath fresh deliveries. A staffed counter matters because it creates accountability. Someone is actively handling, trimming and watching dates instead of letting meat sit as a silent shelf item. This banner includes different operators, so outcomes depend on whether your local store runs a tight system. A good one uses the counter to reduce guesswork, clearer cuts, clearer portions, less reliance on heavy marinades to make the product look exciting. And the strongest setup overall, flagship full-service butcher stores. Not every store inside a big brand is built the same. The safest way to shop inside a massive chain is to target the upgraded format, the locations designed like a proper meat department instead of a basic aisle. Better infrastructure does not make meat perfect, but it can remove a lot of avoidable risk. The evidence is structural. Closed-door refrigeration reduces warm air exposure every time someone walks past. A staffed counter creates eyes on product and faster rotation because someone is working the case, not just filling it. You also tend to get more choice in format, cleaner whole cuts, clearer portioning, and more options that don't rely on bright color or heavy seasoning to sell the idea of freshness. Labeling and handling basics is what counts here. A well-run department makes it easier to match packs to dates, follow safe handling cues, and keep raw and ready-to-eat products separated in your own trolley and bags. That's not hype, that's standard risk control. The flagship is really a proxy for investment and visibility. When the case is cold, the workflow is staffed, and rotation is obvious, the system is simply easier to trust. Not because the brand is moral, but because the process is harder to ignore. If you want one simple rule that keeps you safe and sane, it is this. When a store's meat repeatedly leaks, smells weird on opening, or boils instead of searing, that store has not earned Autopilot. When the cabinet is cold, the staff are rotating, and the meat behaves like meat in the pan, you have found your safe default. This isn't about fear, it's about control. So that's the list. 6 meat buying situations to stop doing on Autopilot, and 4 better ways to shop that protect both your health and your money. Now, I want to hear yours. What's one red flag you've noticed in the meat aisle that most people ignore? Drop it in the comments. If this saved your next dinner, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.